time for Motohop on Air.
Welcome to episode 10.
Episode 10, let's do it again.
I was wondering if you had something or not.
Oh, I've been practicing.
Yeah, do you have them all lined up for like the next 100 and some episodes?
I'm just worried about when we get to weird things that don't rhyme.
Oh.
Like 14.
I didn't know you were going to keep that going, but I'm glad.
I'm glad they're really far apart, because if someone did that in real life, like we're at the gym, we're trying to count rounds. Sometimes we'll have a partner who's counting rounds. I had someone who did that to me before, round 8, you're doing great. And for some reason, it strikes a chord that makes me cringe. It gives me the ick.
Yeah.
But hopefully, since they're far enough apart, no one's kind of shuddering like I did when someone did that every 30 seconds.
That's
fair. It was
fair.
kind of I don't know, it was just cringy, but
Yeah. Well,
I'm
fun.
trying to be more fun because it is 11:07
Right on time.
PM.
We're recording this on October 26th, 2023.
Trying to sound like it's 11:07 a.m. My energy
so peppy.
is not waning at all. I am thriving.
I appreciate you pushing on. We've had...
It's all fun and games until I get a job.
Yeah.
So
That's fair. That's
so
fair.
that might have to be a little bit of a reconsideration. But until then, we're winging it.
I'm Matt,
I'm Missy.
your other co-host.
Oh, yeah. Are we introducing ourselves now?
Just throwing names out.
Okay. Maybe we'll give it a
come up
different
with
name.
some better format for that, but so that way people can attach a name to the voice.
Oh, I thought we were going to come up with a different name every week.
Okay.
You're feeling like Susan next week.
Yeah, sure. We're recording this on Thursday because,
Day late and $1 short.
yeah,
Actually, about $300 short after what happened this week.
dealt with a sump pump that failed.
Womp womp.
And it wasn't a catastrophe right away.
I think it could have been worse.
Figured out that it had just decided to give up on life and made a list.
Did
and
the
went
sump
and
pump
got parts.
really stop? I thought there was a pipe that disconnected.
No, part of the pump had literally corroded away.
Oh.
So it was no longer able to have a pipe attached to it.
So really the fun part of this whole experience was realizing the smell wasn't just the water. I woke up a couple times during the night. Granted, I had cooked Brussels sprouts the night before, which is not common. Let me make the stinkiest vegetable you can and fill our house with it. And those smells sit in our basement. Bacon, sure, bacon's delicious, wonderful, whatever. But 3-day-old bacon stench in your basement where the air doesn't move, not that great.
Yeah.
Definitely a demotivator for cooking certain things. So I made Brussels sprouts, and I woke up a couple times during the night. It was man, the bedroom still stinks. We must need better air ventilation. Not realizing
What had happened is because it couldn't pump water out of the sump pump crock, it was just pumping circularly, and the friction from the pump running continuously, it was not only heating the water inside of the crock, it was also aerating it, which was just fantastic.
so when you pulled it out, it was literally steaming.
Yes.
Thank goodness it wasn't I keep having to remind myself it's not sewer.
No,
But
it's not.
it definitely hits a chord to wow, it smells so bad I can almost taste it. We were at that
It
point.
wasn't that bad.
I am hypersensitive to
Yes,
smells.
you
It was
are.
bad in that room.
It wasn't great, but I've dealt with a lot worse. But I've
Yeah.
also worked on septics.
But after I realized what it was, thankfully the weather has been amazing this week. Opened the windows and everything was resolved fairly quickly. But
Well, sort of.
the smell was resolved fairly quickly.
Yes, smell was
the problem
resolved.
was
Figured
not.
it out. Sent you with the list while I was at work.
So what time did we
Got
figure that out?
home.
Did we figure that out in the morning? That it
Yeah.
was because you came home that night and you were oh, something smells weird. And I said, don't worry, it's just Brussels sprouts. And then
No, I honestly don't think that. I think it was just Brussels sprouts at that point in time.
Okay. We
But
don't even
anyways,
know. We don't even know when it
was
shifted.
Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday night I got home from work and was going to replace the pump and managed to break the only fitting I don't have access to working at a pool store, which was an 1.25 inch male by 1.5 inch slip. Also, what would normally be referred to as a male adapter, but a reducing adapter. So I thought of everything. I'm I'm just going to plug this line. We'll be fine. this crock accepts water from our washing machine.
That's pretty
our
much
water
it.
softener, and our AIO system,
Oh.
which is like an iron filter that regenerates.
But luckily,
I did not think about them regenerating.
luckily we do live on a hill of rocks. What I say is, so like groundwater is not really an issue for us. So
Sure.
thankfully it's both dry outside and that wasn't an issue. But yeah, so like you went through and broke that pipe though before it regenerated because you had resolved
Correct.
that like it's gonna be fine tonight.
Yes.
Like it's literally like let's go to bed. It was like
It was fine for about
12:30 or
an
something
hour and a half
insane.
at most.
It was like 12:30 that night, and I was like, I'm done. Like I'm spent. Like my brain is tired.
Yeah.
I was going to bed. Walked past our laundry chute. Granted, we have like a. What do you consider this? Is this 2 stories? A basement?
No, it's a ranch.
It's a ranch with a basement.
Yeah.
Walked past the laundry chute, which thank God for that laundry chute. And I was like, what is that noise? I was like, wait a minute. Like we can't
You're
run
like,
the
I
washer
thought
or the
the
dryer.
pump
Like,
wasn't running.
and I like
Pump
got,
isn't running.
I caught a smell too because I was like, that's weird. Like the smells had settled. And then I like triggered it to you being like, I thought
Yeah.
you said it wasn't running. And then we had no crap moment.
The AIO decided to regenerate and was currently like 7 minutes into its backwash phase, which meant it had pumped, I don't know.
A decent amount of water.
Yeah, probably 50 some gallons of water.
An inch of overflow
Yep. So,
into the basement, which I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate that we've had a few other floods that were way worse in here, all from the sump pump, not from the actual walls. That most things are in totes. Everything's kind of like picked up for the most
Yeah.
part. So that's why I say it could have been worse.
but
We
it
didn't
was-
really lose anything.
Yeah, it was great trying to piece it together best I could to get it to run that night.
At 1 a.m.
Yeah. Well, by the time I was wrapped up with it and trusted it enough to go to bed, it was like 3.
Oh, you were up that late?
Yeah.
Apologies.
No big deal.
No big deal. Who needs sleep
Yeah. Well, and then woke up Wednesday morning when got the last part. And
on your day off?
now we're, wrapped that up, cleaned everything up. Good times.
Had a pity party.
Yeah.
And here we are.
But this is a motorcycle podcast.
And this is the highlight of your week.
Yes. So, where do we want to start?
What's in your cup?
Oh, yes, we should start with what's in our cups.
They're stiff this week.
They are.
We've had a rough week.
We decided we were going to have proper cocktails.
It's pretty rare that even both of us are drinking at the same time.
Yes.
We're very casual, and I don't know. I like to feel awake during the week. Alcohol does not do that for me. It's a very strong sedative. So, but again, this week has been rough.
Yep.
So we're pretending we're on a beach somewhere.
Yes. So I have a painkiller.
Is it working? Or do you still
No.
feel a little?
Good so far.
Let me know when the pain wanes.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what you made me. It's pretty similar, but
I
turns
believe
out
it was called a palm breeze because
You-
you, for some reason, thought you were going to enjoy a painkiller when you absolutely do not like coconut.
I
Whether
like coconut.
You
'cause
claim that, and there's all kinds of things that
Okay.
are coconut flavored that you do not enjoy.
It's not the coconut I didn't like. It was the dark rum. I've had dark
Hmm.
rum multiple times. I've never liked it, but I'm also just not an experimental drinker. I'm like, give me a glass of wine. Let me go to bed.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my safe space. I don't need to try beer. I've had, 5. They're all bad. I've had a few liquors. You know what? They just don't metabolize correctly with me. I go from absolutely feeling nothing to be like, wow, I need water because I feel horrible. I never get like fun. I don't know, maybe it's a psychological battle. I never get fun, so I'm very careful.
Probably psychological. And the fact that you don't like brown liquors.
Oh, I didn't know there was even a consistency. I don't know if I've tried more than one.
Bourbon?
Oh,
Brown
I don't
liquor?
hate it. I don't hate it. If
No, you just don't
mix
drink it often.
with Coke. No,
Yeah.
I don't seek it out, but if I needed to drink it, I could drink it in a mixed drink.
But yes, you do have a palm breeze.
Okay, well, sounds
So
beachy.
gin, pineapple, rum, but white rum.
So it turns out I
Silver
like
rum.
gin, which we didn't know until a couple weeks ago. So that's exciting because we had a bottle I didn't know about.
Yep. And then painkiller, rum, pineapple juice, orange juice, a little cream of coconut,
A little bit of sunscreen, a
little
little bit of
of nutmeg over the top.
little
It's
bit of-
delicious.
I don't know. Yeah, that brown bourbon, not bourbon, the brown rum, man. I just barely, I didn't even sip it. I literally like dripped it on my tongue and was like, dear God, what is that? No, thank you. So, but
I think my favorite thing is that in your mind, there's like 2 types of rum. Dark and like white or silver clear, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, no, you can have dark rum and you can have spiced rum.
Oh yeah, I've been
You can have
interchanging dark
rum
and spiced.
of different origins. But yeah, spiced rum and dark rum. Not the same thing.
I'm very like
Spiced rum can be dark.
liquor
Normally
culturally
is.
deprived. Like I find something that metabolizes well with my body, and I know how I can find my limits and predict, the water ratio I need afterwards. And I never want to feel it the next day. I want it to be a temporary thrill. So, all right, moving on. What do we got?
Let's see some garage progress. Decided on an exhaust for the Sportster. One of
Did
the
you?
ones I'd been.
Hopefully,
yeah,
it's the one you bought.
it is.
Oh, thank God! I remember you talked about ordering it, and I just didn't know where you were in
Well,
that.
I was looking at a couple different ones and found a killer deal on the Cobra 909 Speedsters or Speedster 909. So
Sounds fast.
yeah, 2 into 2. It's got their little, I think they call it a power port or something.
Please tell
Basically
me
connects the two
It
pipes
sounds
together.
better. Does it still make the potato noise?
It does not sound exactly the same as it did, but half of that is I still have to fix the timing on that bike, and I think it still has a minor intake leak.
Constantly
So-
sounds like it's going to stall out. It's so sporadic. What's it called when your heart does that? Palpation? I think your bike has that.
Fibrillation, yeah.
Oh, it does not sound like you never know if it's going to go or stop.
Yeah,
Bless that little bike.
it sounds fine to me, but I know you don't love the sound of it.
Now it's kind of scarred me. Like that's the only exposure I've had to any Harley ever. And it's like your worst sounding bike.
Yeah. I mean, I really do love the way the Vulcan sounds.
It does. It sounds good. It sounds like
if you have not heard a Vulcan 900 with the Freedom Performance 2-into-1, I think they call it their combat exhaust.
you'll have to put something on Instagram. It's
I
literally like
love the way that bike sounds. You
As-
feel it in your chest, not in an obnoxiously loud way. It's so deep and rumbly. It's just glorious.
as a non-bike enthusiast, it's like what you would expect a bike to sound like. It's just like kind of like the stock sound of a bike. Now, you said you changed that exhaust. Is that the
On what?
thing you just rambled off on the Vulcan?
The one
is
that's
that
on
one
the
stock?
Vulcan is the Freedom. Oh, yeah, it's not stock.
It's not.
Yeah, no.
I couldn't
the
remember
Freedom
if you swapped
Performance
that out.
Combat 2-into-1. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you kind of trying to find something that was because the other one you went
I'd-
too loud and then you went
Yeah,
too
I
quiet.
put some real cheap, no-name like drag pipes on it for a while. They technically weren't just straight drag pipes. They had minor baffling in them, but yeah,
They got too
were
loud.
They were unbearable at highway speed.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
couldn't
now,
hear myself think in my helmet.
now it's like just a
Arguably almost with
smooth,
earplugs in.
a smooth, consistent growl,
Yeah,
rumble.
yeah,
What do we call that?
yeah. It's just nice.
Yeah, it's
Just enjoy the way that bike sounds. But
it's
yes.
just it's not for show. It's you can tell it's like function. I don't know. It just
Oh,
sounds
it's
good.
it's a good looking bike too.
Yeah, it's definitely
Or
the most
exhaust as well, but
clean, average. Like I don't know. I guess I haven't seen a ton of bikes to really like regulate. But even your mom is like obsessed with that bike, and I don't even know if she's like
She
she's
is.
not into bikes at all. But she's like that is a beautiful bike, and I think sometimes when you've got a bike that non-riders can appreciate, it definitely says something for the beauty of the vehicle. You know,
Yeah,
you can
that's fair.
look at a car and be like, "Oh, that's a good-looking car," without having any, or I can, without having any idea of what its performance is. But like some designs just feel right.
yeah.
The Vulcan just feels right.
Yep. I enjoy it. It's other than the scooters, it's the bike I know. If I turn the key on and press the start button,
It's most reliable.
it's going to start. There's something beautiful about fuel injection on days you just don't want to work on stuff.
And that's what worries me when you talk about trading it in. I'm like, but it's like, it's your steady. It's kind of been your like lip.
It is.
I don't know if I want to call it litmus paper, but like, I don't know. It's just been a good default, like a good
Yeah.
solid. You know,
It is. It's going through another evolution right now.
It is, or you are.
It is.
Okay.
It's trying to make some changes. So,
What changes are you gonna make?
well, I just put handlebars on it.
Oh yeah.
Again, a different set.
That's been a whole ordeal. I think you mentioned that last week.
Yeah,
Which ones you
I was
bought?
looking
Like,
at 'em.
how are
Well,
your
I didn't mention
feelings
which
changed?
ones I had bought because I was just looking at some. I ended up pulling the trigger on a pair. I don't have these pulled up. I was going to wait till later to talk about this, but let me get it pulled up. I believe they were
You've been giving me like slow and steady feedback on like you like them, you don't like them,
Yeah.
the way they look versus the way that they ride. It's so different. The way that it contrasts with your other accessories on the bike.
Yeah, so basically what I did, I've been having some upper back issues, and the position of my bars, I had moved from the factory bars to a 10-inch straight riser with like typical what would be referred to as like a moto bar, I don't know, a few years ago. And for, if I was going to spend a lot of hours in a day on the bike, they'd get a little tiring just kind of how far forward and up they were.
So
They
you're
weren't
losing-
above my shoulders, but they were higher than the stock bars. So then I reduced the riser height and went to a pullback style riser, but kept the handlebars the same. So brought them down a little bit and a little closer to me. They still, I was having tingling down my arm after a while in kind of certain positions. And I could feel, there was something with the angle of the bar. I could feel stress on like certain portions of my hands that I hadn't noticed before. So whenever I started looking at the different handlebars to make it a little more comfortable for the current condition of my body,
At the ripe old age of 32?
Yeah.
Oh, close.
I basically just went out and sat on the bike and like put my arms forward to just see where my hands kind of fell naturally, like how where they felt like they wanted to be. And then looked at that and
That's
kind
what
of
we
took
call
some,
user experience.
yeah. And I took some measurements of kind of where they were in relation to the bars that I had on there, and then kind of started looking at measurements of different handlebar options that I thought were kind of close. I think I went probably a little further. Originally in my mind, I was looking for a set of handlebars that had somewhere in the 7 to 8 inches of pullback. That's basically how far the bars come back towards you, and they're kind of curved back. So I went with MGO has a set of bars called the Pre 77, and they have 9.5 inches of pullback.
So a little more than you were looking for.
Yeah, and the profile of the bar, I was a little thrown off. In the pictures, the lighting reflection, because it's just like chrome handlebar on white background.
Ooh.
If you don't understand how the bar is bent, you can't interpret the picture correctly. So once I got them, I'm like, this is nothing like I thought they were going to look like. And then I went back and looked at the picture. I'm like, oh, I see how I missed that.
Yeah.
So the curve of the bar is a little weird. And I kind of mocked them up. I'm like, I don't know if I love the look of these. I went ahead and mounted them completely, moved my controls over to them. They don't look bad. They are significantly more comfortable.
Well,
Granted, I haven't put a bunch of hours on them yet. And the other thing I've got to rectify is in the looks department, it makes my mirrors look goofy. I've kept the stock mirrors on that bike this whole time because I like them. They're like big and useful, and I thought looked decent with the looks of the bike. But because the way I have these mounted, the handlebars are kind of pitched downwards as you get further from the center, as opposed to being kind of flat across. So the mirrors now, when I have them adjusted in a way that I can actually make them useful, they're like the furthest thing out on the bike now.
and that's
It
not
just
normal.
looks goofy.
That's something I probably wouldn't think about, but obviously you will.
Yeah, and like because of the angle of the bars, like
But do you think a different mirror
I
is going to
almost
fix
have-
that?
yeah,
Oh,
because if I shorten up the stem of the mirror, it's going to move them back up. But it also is kind of like the way I adjusted them. The clearance between my hand and like the mirrors, I'm going to grip the handlebars initially as I'm getting on the bike. I've kind of got to be careful not to like knock the mirror every time. So that's kind of weird.
Well, you'll have to
but-
ride it. Like, you haven't really ridden it past work, right?
Yeah, I mean, I took it to work Tuesday and then
Handful
did a
of
little
miles.
loop on the way home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The verdict is still arguably very much out on these.
I think comfort is, I guess, at least in my experience, is like number one, because comfort is what you experience looks is kind of what everyone else experienced. So you want it to work
Sure.
before you commit to like changing anything else. And it's
Yeah.
like you might as well make sure you're going to keep them before you buy new mirrors.
Yeah,
Or-
I mean, fair. I want to go put a couple 100 miles on it. See how, just see how they feel for long distance.
And we were talking
Said the
about
like 5-minute ride to work, and then maybe the half hour I was out after work.
yeah.
They were great. I just don't know. Like a half hour is not necessarily the same as like 6,
Oh, for sure.
or 2 or anything. So
So
yeah.
we were talking about how insane, like, are they called rabbit ear ones? Ape
Yeah.
hangers?
No.
Is that them? Oh, I don't know
Yeah,
the difference.
ape hangers.
Really high.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how people
rabbit
do
ears are
that.
what's on the Sportster.
Like, do you have to have high blood pressure in order for your blood to reach your
Pump up
hands
to your
while you're
hands,
riding
yeah.
those? Like, I just, like, from a pure, like, strength and body logistics, I don't get it. I don't even understand why anyone would do it the first time, let alone it become a style standard.
Yeah, I mean, I get it from a looks aspect.
I don't.
Up to a certain height. The joke I made the other night, though, was like, maybe my real solution here is I just need ape hangers tall enough that I actually just hang off of them and it decompresses my back as I go down the road.
It's true. Maybe
They
I'll
just
get
have to
taller.
be so tall that I actually am hanging from them.
Yeah, but how long could you even do that?
Oh,
Like
not
30
very long.
seconds? Until you lose all feeling
you're-
in your hands?
Yeah, well, you'd have to have such like high clamping force on those bars so it didn't rotate in the handlebar clamp.
Absolutely insane. So if you
Yeah.
have ape hangers, I want to know your blood pressure. Fill me in on how the logistics of this work,
Yeah.
because regardless
And
of what
when-
it looks like, I want to
And
know
we're not
about
talking
the
mini
user
apes.
experience.
We're talking anything like above shoulder height.
Yeah, it just
Because like you can have ape hangers down here,
okay.
but I want to talk about like
Above, I wish people
Yeah.
could see you right now. You're
Yeah.
acting it out.
proper ape hangers like over shoulder.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, and
Yeah, I don't understand.
I'm way more
I
invested.
know.
If they were comfortable and ugly, totally get it. I mean, Uggs, Crocs. Let's talk about
There's
shoes.
people who
Comfortable
swear
and
they're
ugly.
comfortable.
I want to know more about these people.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to know what it's
I
like.
love
Like
that for
having,
them.
like, do
That's
you
great,
ride 4+ hours at a time? Has that been a thing you've ever done? Like, how do your hands feel being elevated above your head for 4 hours? Do you have a
What
throttle lock?
hands?
Do you
I
have like cruise control?
What hands? I don't feel them anymore.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, especially like hot versus cold. Like the user experience is just interesting to me. You know, the psychology of why people do what they do outside of like fashion and fads. But that's something that's been around long enough that people are making this as a conscious choice. You're not doing it. Maybe you're doing it to fit in. But people are doing it because they like it, which is great. I think everyone should do things that they like. But like also like I don't get it. So fill me in. I love the psychology of knowing why people do things, so no judgment. But yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to talk to someone who's like rides with above shoulder ape hangers.
Is it your only bike?
Yeah.
Or is this
I
just,
just
like
have
something you ride
questions.
through? We have questions.
Yeah, we have questions. And I've got a setup to do interviews now. Maybe you'll be
Ooh.
our first interview.
Oh, not me. You mean you
No,
mean
not you. I'm
ape
referring
hanger
to
person.
Yes, ape hanger person. We can have you
I
call
was like,
in.
do you want me to leave and like
No.
call in?
Yeah,
I can if you want
there
to.
we go. No. So, first story, before we get into the latest stuff, I kind of want to do a little follow-up on the Ninja 7 Hybrid. Mainly
Was
because
it last week we brought this up?
I
Or
think it
two
was
weeks
2
ago,
episodes
maybe?
ago. Basically, clarifying a few things. We've got some more information now. A few different outlets, including RevZilla, got to actually spend some time on the bike. So we have more kind of user feedback versus what the manufacturer wants to tell us.
And that's the person who wrote this article has spent more time on the bike, is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, because before this, no one outside of Kawasaki had spent time on the bike.
Do all Ninjas have the 2 headlights? Eyeballs?
No,
Is that new with this then?
no.
Oh, okay. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different designs that have had a Ninja nameplate on it.
Yeah, I think...
Right now, that line runs from a 400 all the way up to a 1400 cc, including a 1000 cc supercharged bike, all wear the Ninja badge.
I just feel like after the whole conversation about, I don't even remember what bike it was that had like the 4-star, the new was an electric bike that had the weird headlight on it that everyone was talking about.
It wasn't electric.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, that was the BMW R1300 GS.
But like, my favorite argument for that was at least people can tell it's not a car, which from the user experience is like totally valid point, regardless of whether you think it's ugly or it's working or it's not. Like, put light on the road, put light where you can see, and like bonus points if we start differentiating these vehicles on the road as that experience of like everyone else. So to see 2 headlights, it just surprised me. I didn't know if that was normal at all.
There's been plenty of motorcycles with 2 headlights.
I don't always notice those things.
A lot of them historically have only had one on at a time from the factory. So like one will be your low beam and the other's the high beam. So the first mods that come out for those bikes are a way to modify it to have both lights on at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sure it helps. I mean, why not?
So what we have learned, so first off, it has actual gears. It is no CVT system. It has actual gears. They're shifted through a computer-controlled hydraulic clutch. So you can manually change the gears. There's also automatic modes kind of by default in a couple of the programs. While the internal combustion engine is on, it is recharging the batteries for the hybrid system. It does have an EV-only mode. You can go up to about 40 miles an hour. Depends on rider weight and environmental factors.
So city riding could be electric.
Yeah. Yep.
What does it say the range on that?
I don't remember. Not very far because these aren't a huge battery. Again, it's a hybrid. It's not a EV
well, they
or
made
electric
the option,
motorcycle.
So I feel like that's an easy, like, expected follow-up question. Yeah. Maybe not.
I think it was in the article. I don't remember. If you have it pulled up, you can look. I want to say maybe like 20 miles, 30 miles, something like that.
I will scan.
So in hybrid mode, it runs on the electric motor up to around 15 miles an hour, again, depending on conditions. Then it starts to blend in the internal combustion engine as it transitions over fully to the internal combustion engine. The thing I find interesting, No Komodo was arguing about this over a 4-hour episode.
Those guys are... Yeah. I commend their commitment to time, man. 4-hour episode.
They've done 3 now. They're like...
Do you think they're going to hit 5?
I don't know.
Should we place bets on the length of the other podcast?
I don't know. I figured after like 2 they'd be done, but they're up to 3.
That's great. If you've got that many friends, you can sit around microphones and banter. Like, how fun. Maybe someday we'll get there.
Yeah.
We're going to need a whole different setup, but love that for them.
Yeah, the one thing that I found interesting was, I don't have in front of me, I forget who wrote the article for Revzilla. They mentioned that they could feel the power from both systems at the same time while it was transitioning over from the electric motor to the internal combustion engine. Mm-hmm. And they said that it was one of the most unique riding sensations they had experienced.
Ooh, sensation. That's interesting. I will say that I found there's like a little screenshot in this article that says Kawasaki devised a route to best explore the Ninja 7 hybrid's capabilities. We did plenty of city commuting using the electric-only EV mode, then transitioned into Eco Hybrid. And it says total time 7 minutes, 37 seconds, average speed 20 miles per hour. Distance was 72 miles.
The whole ride.
Yes.
I think
it's a little map screenshot in here. So
it probably wasn't 7 minutes. It was probably 7 hours.
Oh, that's possible. 7 hours? So I guess average speed at 20 miles per hour.
Maybe.
Well, either way, it says 72 miles. So yeah, minutes doesn't really make sense.
They were only moving for 2 hours and 49 minutes.
Oh, Well, that's
The
not
press
very
ride.
good information.
You're like
'cause then it's
stopping and starting and everything.
what,
They
do
were just showing
stop
the
and
route.
charge?
It doesn't matter. No. So that's the thing. There's no
Okay.
charging for this. It is charging itself. There's no plug-in functionality. So you get the e-boost mode. I think we had talked about the fuel economy. The numbers that I had saw were wrong because I think we were quoting around 50 is what we saw. That is, I think someone extrapolated that from the 450cc engine that's going in it. The actual fuel economy is higher. It's something like 70 something. So I don't know. The now that we know a little more about it, it's becoming more intriguing to me. The idea of having a full EV mode that goes up to 40, depending on it will, if it can realistically get up there
If you run
It's
out of
interesting.
gas, you can just switch it to EV and make it to the next gas station.
for a while.
Yeah, I mean-
about 76 miles per gallon. So that's up there. That's
Yeah, that's a
pushing
really,
scooter territory.
that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I wish it didn't look like a sport bike and I'd be excited about it.
Well, it's a more standard riding position. I enjoy it mainly because I don't think I've never owned a proper sport bike. I've ridden some. It's been something I always figured I'd have at some point. The cool thing about this though is I don't know. I think it was Kawasaki themselves somewhere posted a drag race video between this and a Ninja 1000. It freaking smoked that Ninja 1000 off the line. Smoked it.
You know what I don't like about Kawasaki?
What?
Their logo.
Why? Which
Such a-
one?
Such a buzzkill. It's just like Sans Serif font. Let's just type the name.
They have their river logo as well.
River?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well,
I
this one
think
looks
that's
like
what
it's
it's
almost
called.
like
It's like a
just
think
plastered
like
on this bike.
compass rose.
See, this one's just like straight line. It's got like this bike with all these curves. Like even the like Ninja logo at least has some character to it. I feel like the Kawasaki logo looks photoshopped poorly
You can-
on this bike.
You can almost see the little emblem I'm talking about if you look at the front of the bike. Between the headlights, above the headlights, but below
And
the
what is
windshield.
that?
I think, like I said, I think it was called their river something. I don't know.
I'm just
They
talking
had a
about the
whole
word
big-
Kawasaki on the side. It's
Well,
just
they have more than just that.
straight up like they
Yes.
cut it out of a cricket and slapped it on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Honda traditionally did with their bikes. They had the word Honda
Sometimes
on
they're
the
like
side of the tanks.
emblems. Sometimes they're like strategically placed. It's literally like vinyl on a flat spot in a straight line. Like I said, you scroll through, it looks like it's poorly placed there. Like just everything is better than what's there. Like the word hybrid on the side looks good. Ninja, like that looks at least like intentionally integrated. They were just like, here's a sticker. Put it on the side of the gas tank, would
I mean,
you?
look at the rest of their ninjas. Kawasaki's kind of in that same location. They're at least consistent with their branding.
I guess. Like I said, I've never considered their branding badge. Just that logo. And it's just straight typeface slapped on there with vinyl. Just, I mean, no one else cares but me, but I have opportunities to speak my mind, so
Yeah.
I will.
So the one thing this made me think about, I think you remember, for a while I was looking at Chevy Volts.
Oh, I remember that. That was like a hyperfixation for about 2 weeks.
Yeah. So the Chevy Volt, and then the only other car that I'm really familiar with, I'm sure there's more than these, that fits in the category is the BMW i3 with the range extender. So those both, and we're going to use this as a bit of a precursor because I think next week I may actually get around to that history of electric motorcycles I've been talking about. So there's a spectrum of electric vehicles. The Chevy Volt and the BMW i3 with the range extender sit in a category of REVs, REEVs, range extender electric vehicles. So the Ninja 7 is what's referred to as a strong hybrid. So
Okay.
the real quick overview is you start at the bottom end with a mild hybrid. A mild hybrid has an electric motor in addition to its internal combustion engine but it cannot run solely on electric power.
Like a Prius.
Well, depends on the Prius.
Okay, I ruined that. Ruined that analogy real quick.
Depends on the Prius. Some of the early hybrids were kind of between these strong hybrid and mild hybrids. The mild hybrid would be something like Dodge did them for a minute. I think they called them like E-chargers or something. They marketed it as like an electric supercharger. It was basically an electric motor that would help the gas engine out. So then you move into a strong hybrid or a full hybrid. Mm-hmm. And that'd be stuff more commonly like the Prius and Honda Civic hybrids and Camry hybrids, Honda Insights. The Kawasaki Ninja 7 we're talking about is the full hybrid or strong hybrid. That is a vehicle that has an electric motor in addition to its internal combustion engine, but it can run solely on the electric motor. So those differ from the next kind of step towards an EV is a plug-in hybrid. Mm-hmm. So a plug-in hybrid has larger battery packs than either a mild or a strong hybrid, large enough that it makes sense to actually charge them with a like wall outlet, right?
Okay.
They have longer range on battery only, but again, they're not going to be like 300-mile range.
Yeah.
Right. So a plug-in hybrid, like a Chevy Volt, is a plug-in hybrid. Mm-hmm. You can charge it up typically around 40-ish miles. Mm-hmm. The next step, though, closer to full-blown EV, is this weird area with these range-extended electric vehicles, like the Chevy Volt or the BMW i3. So they have small battery packs, so they're not like super-duper long distance, but you get all the benefits of an EV. The big exception is, if you want to take on a road trip, you can just stop at the gas station.
That's pretty great. I feel like that would be my comfort zone of vehicles.
And that's kind of my comfort zone. And I think for a lot of people, if they kind of really understood the difference with these, the one issue they have is people who don't do a lot of long distance driving, they have to like intentionally run it because otherwise the fuel gets old in the gas tank.
Oh.
Because
it gets that good of mileage.
Well, because if you're only using EV, like if I only drove it to work and back every day, and I charged it every night, I'd never tap into the gas.
So what's considered old gas? Like what age? A month?
Depends.
3 months? What happened?
Any of the above, especially with ethanol fuels now.
Oh.
In the U.S.
Because like I don't drive that much even now.
Oh, I know. Fully aware.
I know you know. Not everyone else knows.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 3 weeks before I top off my gas tank. Is my gas considered old?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean.
Even premium?
Yes, because it was old by the time it got pumped into the car. Because it's been in that tank in the ground for weeks, months.
Womp.
Yeah. So, understanding that the Ninja 7 is the strong hybrid, it made me think about the idea of, will we ever see, because range extended electric vehicles have already kind of died in the world of four-wheeled vehicles. But I feel like they not only, in my opinion, solve an issue with four-wheeled electric vehicles in most people's minds, because the vast majority of people have issues with range anxiety, even though it's not actually as big of a deal for the 95% of their existence. Mm-hmm. But it solves for that. And in the motorcycle world, it really kind of solves a lot of the issues with an electric motorcycle. Because inherently the issues with an electric motorcycle are, one, they don't have a lot of room for batteries.
Yeah.
And two, because they don't have a lot of room, they typically don't have liquid cooling on the battery packs. Thus, they don't charge as fast. So they have slow charge times and they have short range. Great. Keep them that way. Reduce the range further. I don't need 100 miles like Zero's pulling out of some of their bikes. Give me 20, 30 miles maybe. 40 would be great. But 20 to 30 miles in all electric is enough for a lot of people. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And then give me a gas engine backup.
Yeah, because that's so easy to refill.
Yeah, well, and like I said, as opposed to being a strong hybrid like this Ninja, if it is a range extended electric vehicle, I can charge it. I I can drive it to work, drive it back, not use any gas. And when I want to go out for the weekend, I can just stop at the gas station.
Is there any scooters that are hybrid?
Yes, I can't tell you one off the top of my head.
Oh, shucks.
There's a couple.
But I feel like we've got to be on
there.
the brink of that technology expanding. We've got a couple bikes. It's probably only a matter of a year or two until there's saturates the scooter market, because if you can do it for bikes, scooters more or less space, would you say, too?
Less, typically.
Oh, bummer.
Well, because you cut out that whole front section where you put your legs on a scooter.
Yeah.
Right? On a bike, that's all usable space.
That would excite me so much.
You gain some space under the seat, but if you use the space under the seat of a scooter for batteries, well, now we don't have under-seat storage.
Come on, Honda. All I need is a Super Cup hybrid, and I would
Super Cup
sell
would be
my
a
extra
real-
kidney.
Super Cup hybrid would be really hard. There's no space on that bike. That bike is 100% function over form.
So as much as that
In the
disappoints
sense of
me,
everything there has a purpose.
so as disappointing as that is, it also gives me closure of knowing that I can buy one and I won't miss out on a newer version in the next year or two.
There are companies making electric versions of the Cub, but a hybrid, I don't think is likely.
Okay, we'll wait and see. Maybe they'll come up with a new scooter that can tap into the hybrid stuff.
Yeah, I feel like
that's like the ultimate comfort zone for everyone. Although with a scooter, what would hybrid have? Like 150 miles per gallon?
Yeah, probably.
Like, do you even need that?
I think the thing that intrigues me is both now in like the motorcycle world, it seems, and the car world, it's like the Japanese manufacturers by themselves propping up the hybrid. Everyone else is like, nope, EVs are good enough. And then the Japanese are looking at it realistically and going, yeah, but no one's electric infrastructure can handle them. We understand consumers are afraid of the idea that they can't go more than 200 to 300 miles on a charge, even though they only go on a road trip once a year that's over that range, right?
Buying for the life you want, not the life you have.
Yeah, but like hybrids get us to a lower emission future much faster than EVs. Because if you start with the same amount of material to make batteries, you can make more hybrids than you can full-blown EVs out of that same material, because each hybrid has less battery in it.
So the like pushback I've always heard, and all of my exposure and experience, is that, and tell me whether or not this is true, is that when you get a hybrid, or something along these lines, is you have two different motors that could go bad. So like
100%.
maintenance. Oh,
Sure, yeah. We have now two drive systems to maintain as opposed to one.
yeah.
It's a little different with the range extended electric vehicles because it's really an EV that happens to have a generator on board, as opposed to a strong hybrid or a mild hybrid or even plug-in hybrids that literally can use one or the other for propulsion. But yeah, sure. You've just doubled the amount of parts. Same argument for owning a four-wheel drive versus a two-wheel drive car. You know, have twice as many driveline components.
Well, you could have told me that before I bought my all-wheel drive car.
I did. You lived through my purchase of the Ranger, my first four-wheel drive vehicle that had twice as many everything.
I didn't think about it.
Yes.
Even like when, I think it was Goodyear that we went to for my tires.
Yeah.
The guy who was checking me out, or that I was hanging out with while they were working on my car and stuff, he's like, I think he drives like a Honda Civic. He's like, after learning that you shouldn't replace one tire when something goes rogue, he said that
on an all-wheel drive.
Yeah. He's like, that has pretty much sealed the deal that I will never buy an all-wheel drive vehicle. And I'm sitting there with like, my first, I guess it's almost been a year, with my first all-wheel drive vehicle. I'm just being like, thanks, buddy, buzzkill. But you're probably not wrong.
Yeah.
Trying to like suck it up and assume that I can, always live in a world where I can afford 4 tires at a time.
Yeah. Fair. That's also why you have road hazard on those tires.
You just have to remember you have that. I feel like all those like quirky little benefits that you get through like your phone company and your insurance company and the tires, like,
oh, sure.
I legit think that we, as well as everyone else in the world, should go through and write them down, like having like
you probably have like 4
reference
different versions of roadside assistance.
that we would
Do you know
never,
the number for any of them?
No, and we would never cash in on them. If like my tire goes rogue or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna panic.
And then call me and I'll call AAA.
Yeah, and if you're not with me, let's hope you can schmooze them into like giving me the benefits anyways.
Yeah.
I guess like then maybe that's one incentive to changing my name is like proving we're married.
Yeah.
Should work on that.
Yeah.
But it's just like all these weird things that like, okay, so
why'd you marry him? First AAA.
first AAA.
Yeah.
But yeah, thinking back to like, honestly, mental note, every single one of us should go through and make like an emergency list of phone numbers and all these different things for our vehicles. You have AAA, so you don't have to like worry about anything
but that's
else.
so like, I don't know. It's one of those in
grandma
your free
things.
time. Boy, do I wish I had enough free time to do that.
Yeah, but like, heaven forbid something
Fantastic
happens.
idea. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But,
I'll laminate it for you.
yeah. All right. Well, now like 40 some minutes in, maybe.
If we were
should
worried
move.
we wouldn't have enough. Look at us
I know.
go.
Yeah. Let's punch through some new news.
Yeah, so this is apparently actually big news because I found this story as well and was like, didn't we talk about that? But apparently not really.
Yet again, I think you're jumping one ahead.
No.
Okay. So Ducati is coming out with a new 759cc single-cylinder engine.
That, didn't I?
Yes, you
I
did.
saw Ducati and was like, let me fill in the blanks with information not there.
Yep. So this is the Ducati Super Quattro Mono. This thing is kind of bonkers.
Cool video, by the way.
Yeah. You watched the video. I did not. I saw some of the
Assuming
pictures.
I'm talking about the correct art.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, you
I
watched
did.
it. Yep.
It was like full theater vibe. Like watch
Yeah.
this on your TV. Don't watch it on your iPad like I did. That's silly. It's like, I mean, I think it's only, I don't know what, 2 minutes long or something.
Yeah.
Legit cool video. Like pump up like I was ready to go build an engine after I watched
Yeah.
it. And I have no idea what engines even are.
Ducati engines are works of art in the sense of like they just kind of push everything they can to the limit. Like Honda has racing engines that do this, but like Ducati does it in a sexy way.
But you can tell they take pride in what they're doing and they're really proud of it because
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean they're necessarily reliable all the time or they're cheap to maintain if you're not working on them yourself. There's plenty of downsides, but man, do they pull some crazy numbers out of these things.
as like a marketing department, like how, I think about if I was working for these companies, what would I do? To think that they took time to sit down and be like, let's deconstruct the engine. Like, let's put energy into this element instead of a bike. Like that's a conscious effort to stress their pride.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't just show like a cutaway. They have like exploded layout like videos and pictures of this engine. But so 659cc single cylinder. In stock form, they're saying 77.5 horsepower. With their race exhaust, 85 horsepower. Again, this is a 659cc single, 85 horsepower. Spins to a maximum of 10,250 RPM. I believe they say in their release it is the highest revving single cylinder like production engine ever, which I fully believe. And the reason they get there is it is using their desmodronic valves. If you're unfamiliar with this, a typical valve is under spring tension.
Okay.
Spring tension holds the valve closed, camshaft comes by.
I wish everyone could see your hands.
I'm trying to give you hand motions to
like
understand what's
he's
going
playing
on.
a trumpet, in case anyone's wondering.
No, it's whole hand moving, right?
Okay.
So the camshaft's spinning, it has lobes on it. There's typically either tappets or the rocker arms are riding on it. The rocker arms then push down on the valve to open the valve. When the cam kind of goes past the lobe, the rocker arm relaxes. The only reason the valve closes is the spring tension. On desmodronic valves, the camshaft controls the valve both opening but also closing. So it's not just a spring closing the valve. The camshaft profile and thus the rest of the valve train is physically closing the valve. It's not waiting for the spring to close it. So that allows them to spin the engine faster because they're not limited by how quick the spring springs the valve closed.
So what are people, it's weird. We've been doing this, 10 weeks now.
Yeah.
And we've talked about many new bikes being released, but we've never talked about part of a bike being released. Like, what's someone supposed to do with this information? Are they going to buy this bike and put it on They're
The
like
engine?
Yamaha, like
No.
like
It's just that they're showing off this engine,
it's gonna be put
which
into
means
a bike.
they're going to probably develop multiple bikes around this.
Okay.
Right. So like Yamaha years ago came out with their triples.
Do you think that'll happen in 2024, like beginning, or do you think it'll be
I think we'll probably
later?
see something with it in it at EICMA in like 2 weeks.
Okay, so this
Yeah.
is like just kind of a precursor to what's
Yep.
about to happen. Because
Yep.
I'm just like, well, this is cool, but
Based on the timing, that's what my assumption is that we're going to see this in bikes released or at least teased at EICMA.
Gotcha.
13-to-1 compression ratio, 18,000 mile valve check interval, which is important because the desmodronic valves, I've never done one. I've heard the valve system on Ducati engines can be frustrating to deal with. So good thing you have 18,000 miles before you have to deal with them. But that leads us into our next Ducati story, which is...
Ducati Motocross.
Yeah, so Ducati...
This is the one I thought we had talked about a few weeks ago because we were talking about
Triumph.
the person who left the name to change to different brand, and I don't remember anything.
You're confusing this with Marc Marquez leaving Honda, which is MotoGP, not Motocross. Yes. Yeah. No, Triumph entered Motocross. Now Ducati's going to enter Motocross. And my thought process is all these manufacturers are looking at sales and seeing that the one segment that doesn't seem to be trending flat or downwards is the off-road segment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why we're seeing more of these manufacturers throw their hat in the ring for motocross. Don't know a whole lot yet. They've got a teaser video out. Pretty wild to think about.
I didn't watch the video.
And then I started thinking, okay, so if they can do, if they can bring their desmodronic valve stuff over to a motocross engine, are they going to be able to just leave everyone else in the dust power wise? That'll be interesting to see if they're able to just like destroy a class.
Ducati motocross to begin with.
Well, that's a very fair point.
Say anything about
what's the price point going to be?
I mean, they might have to be their own class if it gets
it may be straight up if these bikes are just on a cut above everyone else performance wise, which in some ways would be a shock to me because the Japanese manufacturers have been at this game for so long. The amount of power they're pulling out of those 250 and 450 power plants is just astronomical in the race bikes. But if Ducati walks in the door and can really lay the power down, it may be a literal like pay to win scenario.
Sucky.
Which it kind of is right now in some of the like road racing world where like the way you win races is you're on a Ducati V4. Because they're just destroying everyone right now with their bikes. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we'll see if they do it in motocross too.
Yeah, it's hard to like. I guess like if you can afford that bike to an extent, like you deserve. If you can win, you deserve to. I wonder if it would create its own class. I feel like there's probably not enough of a following for like. That I don't know. I guess it all comes down to price point, and that's unfortunate because that's such a strong divider. Like you hate for that to be such a strong divider in a sport of like what can you afford as compared to like what your skill level is.
Yeah, I mean at the factory team level there won't be as much of an issue, but your like local privateer motocross stuff is where you're going to see a difference. I think.
Oof. Good luck out there.
Yeah. Next up. Triumph has some new paint options. They're calling them their stealth editions.
Ooh, I think I found this.
You did.
Did you find it too, or was I actually like onto something?
I did, but I didn't throw any extra in the notes because you had already found it, so you saved me work.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
So what do you know about this?
I know that they price the different colors different amounts, which was kind of surprising to me. But
because they're on different bikes. Did you notice that?
I kind of thought that might be the thing. So, like, if you want a certain spec bike, you have to take that color. Like, that color defines, like...
that bike.
So, you know what this reminds me of?
What?
At the tech conference last year that we go to every year because we help with design a website for. I got a free t-shirt. Granted, maybe not the same.
Oh,
that was, like...
This was hilarious
colored based on size, which, when you're at the event... You know everyone who's wearing a medium.
Brilliant for the vendor because you say large and they know they need to grab green shirt.
Right. Like totally perfect from the vendor's experience.
If everyone figures this color scheme out, they know who's wearing like a quad XL and who's wearing a medium.
Which,
and like,
by looking
I guess
at a person,
it doesn't
you
matter.
can generally tell sometimes.
But it was an interesting...
like differentiator to be like,
it's just something you don't normally see.
It only matters for that week. So I guess if you're like sensitive about your size, wait until literally the next day. Don't wear it that week when everyone's together. Just wait until we're not there together, because in all honesty, the shirt says like eat sleep code on it anyways. So like maybe don't wear your pajamas out in public.
Yeah.
But anytime after that, I guess I wear it for sleeping. People who actually code probably wear it during the day. Anytime after that, it won't matter. So in the grand scheme of things, at a one-day event, perfectly fine. That's great. But it's kind of like a secret, what would you call it? Like a secret code, you know, to an extent. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, it's a little
and...
different just because there's different colors on different models, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if you knew that someone had, let's see, for example, the orange Stealth Edition Triumph, it has to be a Scrambler 900.
Yeah.
Right. So they are arguably kind of cool paint jobs. They're hand painted.
None of them look bad.
They're going to be available for 1 year. Basically, the front of the gas tank starts black and it fades into whatever color it is. So
wait, they're only available a year? So they're like collector's editions?
This is under their special editions on their website.
So in case you have a really big empty barn.
Yeah, right. Wait a few years until someone goes, you know what would be great? A Triumph Bonneville bobber with a paint job that fades from black to purple. Boy, do I have a deal for you. I have 3 of them stashed in my barn from 2024, right?
0 miles on them. But the ombre is a cool thing. It's really quite subtle and really pretty.
Yeah. There are a couple duplicate colors / duplicate models. So both the Speed Twin 1200 and the Speedmaster are available in red. The T100 and T120 are available in blue. The T120, though, is also available in a black Stealth. And if you are like me, you are thinking to yourself right now, how do you fade black to black? You don't. You fade black to gray and you call it black.
Gray is just a brighter shade of black. It's okay.
Tint of black.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
Art
you're right.
major. Yeah. I don't know.
Needs to know that.
Yeah. They are. They're cool looking paint jobs. I dig
Very
them.
pretty. I don't think there's any one that I hate.
Special
I mean,
paint.
It's all subtle enough that like none of them make me cringe or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, is it too subtle? But it is interesting from the aspect of
it's like if you know, you know.
If you want to pop a color on your bike, but you don't want to limit your resale factor, these are probably pretty good paint jobs in the sense of like
your legs will cover it up anyways.
If someone doesn't like green, well, the bike's like 90% black.
Yeah.
You know? They can probably live with that little bit of green. And if they can't, sticker bomb it.
There's like a color on the... it's the same color on the fork on every one of them, though. It's like a red front fork. I don't know if that's a logo.
You're talking about the reflector?
Maybe.
Yeah, the DOT required reflector on both forks. Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, cool. Yep.
Which one would you buy? What color?
Looking at these, the ones that... I'm most drawn to are the Scrambler 900 in orange.
Ooh, very proud. I was worried you were going to say green.
No, the Speedmaster in red.
Mm-hmm.
And the T120 in black Stealth, just so I can tell everyone how ridiculous it is that this bike that obviously has gray paint on it was named black.
Yeah, but it's only on the gas tank, I think. So
correct.
I don't think...
But following the naming scheme, this should have been Gray Stealth Edition.
Okay. The things you do just to like spite other things.
Yes. But yeah, sharp looking bike. You know, Triumph's really kind of killing it lately. Between the 400s, them entering motocross, they're just firing on all cylinders over there.
I think the purple is beautiful and everyone
should
buy a purple. It's got a different seat on. Well, it's got the bobber seat on it.
Yes. That's the only reason I don't love the Triumph bobber. I just don't.
If you change the seat, is it still a bobber?
Yeah, but here's the problem. The way that bike's designed, it kind of has to take that seat that's like elevated, and the fender's attached to the rear tire. So the fender moves up and down as the rear tire like hits bumps and stuff.
There's no storage on this thing?
No, I mean most bikes don't have storage by default.
Well, I think all bikes should have storage, at least options. Where would you put storage on a bobber?
On the Triumph bobber,
Yeah.
well, you could run a tank bag. There are saddlebags available. What you would do is what a lot of times they do on like a soft tail setup. So you'd put a sissy bar and you'd strap a bag. You'd set it on top of the fender and strap it to the sissy bar and ride behind the seat on the fender. So there's ways to utilize it. I just don't love the look. And if you're into it, that's fine. I can understand why someone would like it. It's just not my jam.
I really just like the gas tank.
Yeah, the purple, the black to purple is
it's not like
beautiful.
Not like a royal purple. It's more of like a magenta. Man, art school's failing me right now. I don't know what color this is, but it's not like a royal purple. Like I said, it's more of like a magenta, pinky purple.
Yeah. I don't know. They're all good looking bikes, though.
Yep, not an ugly one out there.
More of a plum.
Ooh, plum.
Yeah.
Good one. I don't get to use crayons very often. I bet you if I use crayons more often, I'd have a good Crayola color for us ready.
Yeah, in a couple of the shots, I think like 60, I forget if it was 67, 68 Firebird and plum. Yeah.
Good one.
But yeah, Triumph's killing it. If you want one of those hand-painted limited edition paint colors,
everyday
move fast.
Low price of $14,000.
Yeah, depends on the price of the bike. Yeah. Yamaha is bringing us retro-y sport bike goodness that everyone wants right now.
We do.
It's only being announced by Yamaha Europe, as it has been the case for several of the most recent Yamaha developments, which is interesting. This is the Yamaha XSR X-Ray Sierra. Oh man, what is R?
Rabbit.
No. No.
Oh, it's going to bother you now.
Yes.
I will say these look like a toy. These don't look like anything coming from the last, like, all black, stealthy, sophisticated looking. Romeo. Okay.
Romeo.
You could
Sorry,
sleep tonight
continue.
at least.
Continue.
This just looks very bold. We have
it is very
ketchup and mustard happening right now.
Well, sure. You may not like the coloring, but it is very retro racer.
Yeah.
The thing that's cool to me is they went like race fairing and put a really tiny centered headlight that's recessed in the front of the fairing. So it is straight up as close to a race bike look, like retro race bike, as they could get and still make this thing street legal. Like they were down to the, inches with DOT requirements probably to get some of these things. Like they didn't just slap turn signals on there and go, yeah, people are going to take them off anyways. They figured out a way to make this thing both street legal and look as proper retro as they could.
The weird yellow chunk on the back seat is throwing me off.
That would be where a number would go.
Oh, good point.
Yep. So yeah.
It looks good if you make sure your apparel matches your bike.
Yeah. If you want to feel better about it, click on the power gray one. It is gray and black.
Yeah, it's not so bad.
Yeah. But yeah, XSR, X-Ray Sierra Romeo 900 GP.
So you want to know what I want to know?
What?
How do you get to be the stock person riding these bikes? Do you think they do like a lottery within their employees of who gets to be like the stock image person on the bike?
So it's different, of course, across manufacturers. I don't know Yamaha's process, but like people I follow on Instagram have been in like Harley ads.
Because you can't really tell who they are. Like in the end, it doesn't really matter who it is, but how cool to say like, that's me,
I'm that guy in that ad.
I'm the guy with the helmet who you can't see his face. Still cool. I mean, I guess I could pretend to be that person, but pretty cool.
Yeah. It's got, all the tech you could want, which is in direct comparison to the looks of the bike. 5-inch TFT display, fully adjustable front rear suspension. This is, I believe, the triple. Let's see here. Yep. 890cc triple. It's just a good-looking retro bike.
Looks fast.
This is what I think a lot of people wanted for a while. I'm sure they'll sell a decent amount of these. Plus, the triples sound wonderful.
But if you do buy one, please don't swerve in and out of traffic on the highway. It makes a regular motorist mad.
Yes. Moto Guzzi.
Gucci.
Yep. Moto Guzzi has officially unveiled the new Stelvio. So it's going to be 2024 model year. Cycle World's gotten to ride it so far. Moto Guzzi's put some info on their website about it. Of course, like everyone at this point, they're like, discover more at EICMA. So what we know is there's a lot of similarities to the Mandello. There have been some changes because this is a more adventure-oriented bike. There are more points of contact between the frame and the engine on this. I believe 2 more, so 6 points of contact instead of 4. Mm-hmm. The foot pegs are still engine mounted. They are rubber isolated because they're engine mounted. The hiccup, though, is the reviewer from Cycle World said that as they stood up on the pegs, they could feel the squishiness of them. They're like, they're
they have a weight
technically
limit?
fine, but you can feel you have a rubber insert on the peg, and then you have the peg that's rubber mounted to the engine, and you can just kind of feel everything give when you stand up on the pegs.
Sketch.
Yeah, I mean,
How often do you
it's
stand
going
on
to have
pegs,
to.
though?
Well, if you're riding off-road a lot.
Oh, yeah, when you're going over
Right.
bumps and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if you have... I guess I never even thought about it. Is there a weight limit on bikes?
Technically, just like cars.
So, like, would someone say, like, if you were going to go and buy one, would they, like, straight up... They probably wouldn't... That'd be a hard thing to kind of bring up.
Are you going to be over the weight limit of the pegs? I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, like, there's a weight limit on bikes. You can't take a bike, put a person on it, and, like, 900 pounds of lead.
Yeah.
You know, they have a cargo carrying capacity.
I mean, it totally makes sense. You know, it's just like a ratio, but something I never really thought about.
Yeah.
It does say they do have a picture on here with a passenger on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And some swell-looking luggage.
Yep. Well, because adventure touring bike.
Yeah.
Cruise control is standard. They will have a second S model that's going to have forward and rear-facing radar for adaptive cruise control and, quote, other safety features. Learn more at EICMA.
Coming soon.
They've made some changes in the gearbox to improve shifting, different clutch, but all in all, kind of what I think everyone wanted out of an adventure bike with this new engine platform.
Now, EICMA, is that the Asian one?
European?
Oh, it's European?
Yeah.
Do we know that everything we don't know that everything at EICMA is going to be in the States, though?
Correct.
So this could not make it, or do you think it will?
I guess this technically could not make it to the States. Could not. I guess that technically wasn't a double
May or
negative.
may not.
It felt like a double negative. But it likely, very, like the Mandellos here, there's no reason for them not to bring the Stelvio.
Gotcha.
Different ride modes, rain mode. Yeah.
Fancy LED display.
Don't know the pricing yet.
No.
They speculated, Cycle World did, that it's going to be somewhere between $17,500 and $18,500.
Oof.
The hiccups I see, 115 horsepower, which is plenty in my mind, but in the realm of other big adventure touring bikes, the only one they're outpacing on power, I believe, is the Honda Africa Twin. The BMW has more power, the Honda has more power. Or not, sorry, not the Honda, the Harley. BMW has more power, Harley has more power, Ducati's got more power. So we'll see how much of an issue that is for people.
It's like, how much do you really need?
Yeah, I mean, very fair. In my world, I think 115 is fine, but I like mid-size bikes.
Yeah. Well, the mid has like probably been increased over the last couple of years with everything.
Sure.
The standard just
everything
continues
just
to
keeps getting
increase.
bigger. So your big flagship bikes just keep getting more and more power, which leads us into our next story. BMW has officially unveiled their BMW M1000 XR. It is a 200 horsepower sport touring bike.
Another touring bike. So,
200 horsepower.
what does my car have?
200 and some horsepower.
God, and that's carrying so much more weight than a bike is going to.
Yes.
And even us, we get in this car and we're like, wow, why is it so fast?
Yes.
Who needs this much speed? Now let's like take a fraction of the weight and just go.
Yeah. So this is what's intriguing to me. First off, BMW's making 200 horsepower on a naturally aspirated 1000cc engine. Kawasaki in their Ninja H2 SX, which is their sport touring supercharged 1000cc, is also making about 200 horsepower. Mm-hmm. The only thing Kawasaki's got going for them is they have a super flat torque curve and really good power delivery across their RPM range because they're supercharged. But outside of that, it's kind of like, why are you only making 200 horsepower with a supercharger at this point? Because everyone else is making similar numbers without a supercharger. However, this thing just kind of cracks me up. I love absurd vehicles for the absurdity of them to some extent. Mm-hmm. But BMW in their press release says, the new BMW M1000XR, the long-distance sports bike designed to meet the highest demands from dynamic riding on country roads to long-distance touring and racing. Okay, long-distance touring and racing.
That's kind of because an oxymoron.
Yes. However, don't worry. Their new touring bike has fantastic features. Like, where was it? There's a pit lane speed limiter for when you take it to the track.
I don't even know what that means.
If you're in like pit lane at a racetrack, there's normally speed limits enforced.
Oh.
So it has a pit lane speed limiter built in. It has race modes. It has launch control. It has winglets.
For those who want to race, but don't.
If you wish your GP bike was marketed as a touring bike, this is the bike for you. Never did I think I would see sport touring bikes with winglets. I don't know.
It looks fast.
Oh, it is.
They really embrace the color, like the red, white, blue, blue.
Yeah, the BMW M palette.
Yeah, they really put some confidence into that, which is kind of fun. Now that I see it places, I notice it more. I don't think I noticed it at all until I had my own BMW, and now I'm like, look how cool it looks. But fun to see it. Colors I would never put together, but because they've already they already have a reputation. They look good. They look really good.
Yeah.
Lots of stickers.
Yes. Lots of stickers. Yeah, I don't know. 200 horsepower touring bike just seems bonkers to me. Like, I thought it was crazy when Kawasaki's like, here's a 200 horsepower supercharged touring bike. And I'm like, that's nuts.
I wonder what their
now
demographic is. Do you
here's
think
another one, and it has race features built in.
Who do you think? If you could stereotype a person that was going to buy this, what would you say?
Young kid with too much money.
You think?
Yeah.
I was going to like 50-year-old midlife crisis.
I guess your option is...
Those are your two options. Anyone older than 50 is going to be too wise to want to do it.
Yeah, but not like every 50-year-old midlife crisis. First off, with the seating position, it is more standard than it sounds like it's going to be. Like, they have a picture of someone on it, and he's very, like, trying to hunch over into a sport position.
Yeah.
But you can tell from the grips, it is designed to be more of a upright touring riding position.
Yeah, his
which is
elbows
cool.
are really far back. Like, it doesn't look like a long-term
it looks like
he's in.
Well, no, it looks like he should be sitting more upright.
Yeah, he's not properly tucked.
Well, no, he's tucking and he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
I think the reality of this is, younger end of the spectrum, too much money, or like high paying job, 30-year-old trying to impress someone.
Dink.
Yeah. Yep.
Or well, not a dink. If he's trying to impress someone, he may not have a dual income.
Yeah, I mean, may be trying to impress someone, may not be a dink trying to impress someone.
Well,
I mean,
good luck impressing someone, because if I saw that, I'd be like, ooh, pretty, but that's
impressing
it.
someone doesn't necessarily mean trying to impress someone like for relationship reasons.
I guess that's true. It could be like LA life, you know, just
between
higher standard.
That, yeah, just be like, I have money, or also like
we're in the Midwest. We're kind of like, sorry, touched my mic. Kind of limited to like, we're pretty conservative in the financial department here. What is a lot of money to us is likely not a lot of money to anyone in California.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just generalizations. I just think it's interesting to kind of think about like, who's going to buy that? And I'd like to meet them, because I like to see people who buy stuff, and I want to know why. No harm, no foul. I just want to know.
Yeah. I don't think they mentioned the price, did they? I didn't see anything. But let's see here. If I look at a comparable bike, we know it's going to be somewhere near that.
I had the BMW tax. Is that up there with like Harley tax and bridal tax and baby shower tax?
Corvette tax.
Oh, God. Luckily, I'm not. Well, you're not into those either yet. Anyways, hopefully we've got a few years until we go to the car crisis. Bikes are cheaper.
Bikes are cheaper. I was thinking about that.
I bet this is going to be. This is easily going to be more than my car.
Oh, yes.
It's my guess is going to. Okay, my guess is probably 28. You think that's reasonable? Because I'm just.
I think you're low.
Oh.
Because this is an M.
Oh, there's an M tax.
Yeah. If I can get anything to pull up here.
Is it internet problems or like SEO problems?
No, BMW problems. Here we go. Okay.
Sounds expensive.
Models. We'll get somewhere here. M.
Do you think it's even been released?
What do we have? Well, I thought they were making
this press kit was just released.
I'm not looking at
yesterday.
the XR. I know they have other M's. I just wanted to see what another M
like
series bike was going
compatible
for.
Bike was.
But like, let's go base model of this bike.
Yeah, if you're going to spend that much money on a bike, these pictures are taken in what appears to be Arizona, which would make sense. Although I feel like we get too cold to ride. There are some places that get too hot to ride.
Oh, you were close.
Ooh, love that.
As shown, so base model M1000 XR. They do have the pricing for this one.
Okay.
$29,995.
And I wonder, those are probably don't have a lot of negotiation space.
No, and you're gonna end up putting options on it before you get out the door, because that is the one thing that intrigues me. Is they're one of the few bike brands that like you can go on and configure a bike, because there's just like options they'll sell you, like accessory packages. Like it's them and Harley.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does it to some extent, but they kind of push it. But
good luck out there.
Yeah. Royal Enfield opens applications for their 2024 Build Train Race program. Are you familiar with this? No.
Nope.
So it's intriguing.
You think I should apply? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I don't know if they're limiting it only to women right now.
Oh, was it specifically for women?
At one point it was.
Oh. I feel like gender's kind of not as specific as much anymore. Like, you know, it's kind of like once you say women, you run into some gray area with
it is.
Other identifying.
At least for the flat track program.
Oh, wow.
The first all-women initiative teaching women to build and race their own motorcycles. So yeah, it's kind of cool because you literally build a bike and then you race the bike.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
So they have a flat track program and a road racing program.
That's really cool for people that are interested in it, but that horrifies me.
Why?
I don't know. The idea of building a bike and then having to actually ride it sounds risky.
I don't know. I guess that's the thing where it's like, I'd rather build the bike than like
someone else.
Well, yeah, because what if it was 5 o'clock on Friday and they were mad at their boss because they weren't being paid enough? And they're like, Yeah, I think that torque wrench clicked.
I guess that's what standardizing, like what you do anytime you buy a vehicle if you don't go through and tune it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Intriguing program. I followed a little bit online as they publish stuff when they go through this program. They want you to show your garage, take us for a ride, video just about you. So they want a 2-minute video, and then you fill out the application, and you will get to build, train, and race a bike either on flat track or road racing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I'm not their target market. I wonder what they would do with the applicants that are like, hi, I think I want to get to know a bike, but I'm actually legitimately horrified.
I hope you can
of them
teach me
still.
how to use a clutch.
Let's build a bike together. What's this piece?
You're doing pretty good with tools.
I know tools. Oh, I can make my way around a hardware store. That's not a problem. But a garage?
Well, but I mean like
a motor, like
automotive
no.
tools.
Yeah. I mean,
the rest of it comes with time.
Anything that
Need exposure.
My background with tools, I've taken wood class in high school. I took wood shop.
Yep.
I had a sculpture welding class as well as wood shop in college.
Yeah.
I've got the basics down. Yeah. When it comes to motors, though, 0.
Yeah.
That would be the difference of I could build a birdhouse. I wouldn't enjoy it. I'm completely detached to do I know how to work most of these things? Yes. Have I been horrified from day one of things that can cut other things off of your human body? Also, yes. We had one bad run-in with a router that solidified those fears.
Yeah.
And I respect them from a distance at this point. Not that I couldn't figure out if I needed it to. I could probably, women in chainsaws, I could probably figure it out. Some of that stuff I don't mind as much. But, table saws and stuff, there's a lot more safety features even now than there was a couple years ago, when I was doing this. It's crazy to see how far things have come. Again, yes, I could build things. I would happily, learn to weld things, but that doesn't mean I want to figure out how to, build an engine. You know?
I always think back to, middle school shop class and just think about, how could the school afford insurance? Because I know the amount of stupid stuff that occurred and the amount of injuries that occurred.
Oh, there was no joking around in our, shop classes.
Oh, ours, was supposed to be serious as well. But the problem is you have a bunch of...
dudes.
Yes.
Testosterone is raging. It is...
dumb things still occurred. And
I think, our teacher did a pretty good job at instilling the fear of being electrocuted during the welding sessions. And... there was probably harsher punishment. My incident was literally just an incident, being that I was had probably 112% in that class because it was so easy. Because a lot of people who took classes like that weren't necessarily book smart, but they were trade smart.
Yeah.
I was leaned heavier on the book smart and less on the trade smart. So these classes were a breeze. After I cut the tip of my finger off, building a birdhouse or whatever stupid project we were doing, I was I'm not doing this anymore. I skipped that entire project and still got 102% in that class.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There was probably, if what had happened to me would have happened to one of the immature guys in my class, there may have been negative repercussions. But because it was a genuine accident by a female who was petrified to exist, it was kind of oh, we can't punish her, she'll probably never come back.
Yeah.
So I can see why there would be a little bit of leverage there.
Yeah, I just like I said, it blows my mind that they can maintain insurance policies and not bankrupt schools.
Maybe they don't anymore.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's part of the reason why shop disappeared out of so many schools.
I know they had trouble getting teachers for it, but the teachers are probably
Also
afraid of the liability with the students who never get off their phones. We didn't have phones in high school, so a little different
we were
of
early precursors. No one had smartphones yet, but
paying per the minute was tough.
Running a router down the edge of a cutting board and watching a giant chunk of wood split off and be propelled across the room at what seemed like 100 miles an hour and missing another kid's head by inches.
Oh, such a mess.
And then I put a drill bit through my index finger.
You did?
Yeah. we
Oh, that sounds gross. It sounds like a tetanus.
Because I can't leave well enough. We were building CO2 like race cars, so they had a little, I forget what they were, 8-gram CO2 cartridge, and then they were like, it was like a drag race setup, right?
Drag race setup in shop class?
Yeah, we took them into the gym, and like we had a starter, and like you loaded the 2 cars in, and there was a starter you'd hit, and it'd puncture the 2 CO2 cartridges, and they'd race to the other end of the gym, right? So everyone else is like, I'm going to do a sweet wedge. And I'm like, well, we're going to, start with lowering our drag coefficient. So we're dimpling the entire surface. So I drilled a bunch of little tiny dimples in it like a golf ball and then proceed to paint it white like a golf ball. And then I'm like, in my free time, as I hyper-focus on stuff as I tend to do, I went down a rabbit hole of just like fluid dynamics sort of stuff and like understanding drag and how, air moves, and learned about this process called entrainment, where if you have a high enough velocity of a fluid, it drags the surrounding fluids into it and can like multiply the output force. So I was trying to drill these air channels going from the front of my car to the back, specifically at an angle where the stream of CO2 was going to be coming out. And I broke a drill bit off in it. So the collective of us was like, well, the best way to get the drill bit out is with another drill bit.
Oh, the high school logic.
Well, when the first drill bit hit the second drill bit, it kicked out the side and went through my finger.
And you just pulled it out and moved on with your life?
Yeah, it like kind of gouged through it. And I'm like, it's kind of deep. And then...
So it didn't actually go through your finger and come out like the other side?
No, not all the way through.
It like
took a deep enough chunk that like threw a Band-Aid on it. And I'm like, it'll probably be fine. And then I remember... I think it was the next day. I'm like, that's kind of dark. I probably should have got stitches. But it healed up fine. My finger looks good.
Yeah, I've got like a scar. I don't know. Hopefully we would never need that fingerprint.
Yeah.
But nothing noticeable. Just kind of embarrassing more than anything because I just didn't want to be noticed.
Shop's good. Builds character. They should keep it. It's good stuff. Life skills.
It's true. There should be a life skills class where they also teach you how to like figure out discounts and tips and
keep track of your property.
Property?
Into the next story.
Oh.
You picked this one.
I was like, what are you talking about? What an odd segue.
Trying to find a way to cut us over from shop class.
Very smooth, obviously.
Yeah.
So I found 2 different articles I had recently about people using air tags. I don't know if they were both air tags. I know at least one of them was about their bikes getting stolen. And the interesting thing, the guy had 2 bikes stolen. So he only had an air tag in one. Yeah,
talk about a bad day.
Yeah,
having
get
2
bad
bikes
and good.
Stolen.
But like obviously once someone gets like into your garage, for example, like they've got 6 bikes they can steal.
Yeah.
So having an air tag and even in part of them enabled them to like call the cops. And luckily the cops cooperated because I feel like it's probably hit or miss based on the person you get. I don't want to, I'm pro cop. We know a lot of good cops in our life. We're very lucky, but that doesn't mean
there's also a lot of bad ones.
I'm sure there is. And there's also like your bike being stolen on like, depending on where you live, what the resources
may not be high priority.
Oh, absolutely. To where it's like, these success stories were because people noticed right away. The one guy was at work, his bike was stolen, and because they had an air tag in it, was able to like call it in, and they were like able to like play by play find it, track it down. Great. Yeah. The other person had 2 bikes stolen, and it seemed like within pretty short notice, he was able to call someone. They found the bikes, and they were both together. Like he had a camera on his house, so they were able to identify the vehicle and confirm the vehicle, everything along those lines. But again, they got very lucky. They had fast reactive cops. They knew right away. Like, obviously, people are worried about other people finding these air tags, which is a possibility. But I feel like if I was going to be like, I'm going to go steal that bike, I'm not going to take 20 minutes to look for the air tag before I drive off.
You've already made dumb decisions.
Yeah, that's not at the top of your mind.
Are you smart enough to look for an air tag?
I don't know that I'd even like, I don't know. I guess it depends on how you think personally and whether or not that's something that's going to be you would think about that.
Yeah,
I would
but
probably
there's
not
so
think
many
about
crevices on a bike. You'd have to practically disassemble the bike.
Yeah, like you could hide it a lot of places. So obviously the one was on Reddit, so people are horrible there. And
We have different Reddit experiences, but yes.
mine are sad. Everyone's mean on my Reddit, so I don't go on anymore. But like people are always like, oh, but people can find it. You know, people know that you're tracking them and all these things, but also like it's that adrenaline's rushing. Like that person's not paying attention to anything but getting that bike to a safe place for probably the first hour or two. They're just sweating it out.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of time there. So you kind of just have to lean into that and like, yeah, maybe they're going to find it. Maybe they're going to get rid of it. Maybe they're going to throw the bike off the cliff. Maybe they would have done that anyways, whether or not there was an air tag on it. So like all you're doing is adding a benefit. Like, yeah, things can go wrong, but obviously things already have at that point is kind of like my mind frame around it.
Sure.
You're never going to know that the person who stole it is going to have an iPhone. Like, not everything's going to be perfect every single time, but is it going to give you a possible layer of protection?
Well, they have,
Yes.
but like if they have an iPhone, I forget how many hours it has to follow you before it says, hey, there's a air tag following you.
Yeah.
So even in that case, it's a while before they'd notice the bike has an air tag, and then they'd have to find it.
Yeah, you assume that they're going to like take the bike to a safe place and hide it if they want to get away with it. Like you're not going to keep riding the bike around, stopping at restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you stolen this bike, likely like the one guy went to like a smoke shop or something before he went anywhere. Like you're going to hide it out of area, and who knows if even like them parking it in their garage, they're even going to be close enough to even consider it. Like if they're in the city, they might park it in a garage and go to their apartment building a block away. Yeah. I mean, there's so many variables, but it seems like there's more potential for good than there is for bad with this.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm honestly, I'll just say, I'm surprised there hasn't been more like instances of street justice with this. Like my bike gets stolen. I know where it is. I'm going to go recover it.
Yeah.
You know
well, maybe
what I mean?
like
And,
insurance wouldn't have
dude
the
shows
same.
up with a 12 gauge and is getting his bike back.
Well, I don't know. I guess it just depends on the person. These are only two stories. Who knows what's happened? But also, if you want the bike to be fixed, like the one guy had his ignition screwed up because someone
they punched the ignition out.
Yeah. So like if you want insurance to cover it, you probably have to have a police report. Or maybe it helps.
Yeah.
That maybe it's just like that, and I think he was at work or something. So like then if it's your only vehicle that you rode there, you're not exactly it's going to take you time to logistically figure out like I need to go back home because I rode my bike to work. I need to go back home, get whatever weapons of choose machete. Grab another vehicle, find like that's lost time. That's a lot of time. So I would say if you're willing to trust the cops, the easiest thing to at least try it out. If they can't get to it or something, then you take matters into your own hands.
We do not advocate for that.
No, but there's people out there, depending on the bike, depending on your personality, that like, I would be like, how can I get help first?
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah. I just think for how cheap most of these trackers have gotten, I still think unless you get into some of the like cellular based ones, like I know T-Mobile has one, I think AirTag's probably the best option, only on the basis of, at least if you're in the United States, our market share of iPhones is really high. The odds of that device being in proximity to an iPhone close enough to be able to ping its location is pretty good.
Especially if you're riding on the highway. Let's say you're weaving in and out of traffic. There's probably like at least a 50% chance of people being on an iPhone.
They've tracked packages into North Korea with AirTags.
Pretty wild. I know people putting them in their luggage and stuff now too, that even if it's not you, there's someone on that plane that's going to have an iPhone that's going to be close enough to track it. Yeah. Even if it's not the person who stole it or whatever.
Yeah. It's just cheap insurance.
Yeah. What are you going to lose?
Yep. Just, like I said, it's a small enough device and there's enough space, enough small crevices on a bike to hide it pretty out of the way where it's going to take someone an obnoxious amount of time to find it. And what I'll say is, if it takes you time to put it there, it makes it harder for them to find it. And the reality is what did we just figure? Because I just had to replace the battery in one of mine. Mm-hmm. It was like 2+ years, 2 years.
Yeah, something like that.
So like if you spend an hour to get to wherever you're going to put it on the bike, you only have to spend that hour in and out every 2 years.
Well, and it might even be once you have it figured out, it's probably quicker to get to the second or third time. You know,
Sure.
it's going to take you more time
I'm
to
just
find
saying,
it than it
like-
will be to replace it.
I think the one guy literally put it under his seat, which
Yeah.
is fine. It's easy placement. If someone's going to look, most bikes, the seat releases intentionally pretty easy. Maybe don't put it like right there.
Put it under a sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, again, it's still pretty small. I don't know that it's common enough to be in the forefront of people's minds. Like, eventually they might sit down a day or two later, crack open a beer or something, and be like, oh, crap, I wonder if I should look for that. But I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing is like buying you time, one.
Yes.
And once, if they have an iPhone, like I said, I forget what the hour threshold is. If your phone detects a device tracking you, moving with you for so long, your phone alerts you that you're being tracked by a tracker that isn't yours.
Yeah.
And then lets you set a sound off on it, helps you locate it. So like make it difficult to find on the bike.
Take the speaker out.
Yes.
You figured out how to do that from like a 30-second. I think we've talked about this before. YouTube.
Yeah.
Worth it. I
Do
mean,
not use it for nefarious purposes. But track your own products that way.
yes. Disclaimer.
Although it's probably outside of Apple's terms of service. So don't do that if it violates Apple's terms of service.
So read the terms of service.
Yes.
And report back to us because, obviously we have.
Nope, I have not done anything.
I figured.
You can claim you did whatever, but I haven't done anything outside of Apple's terms of service.
Agreed.
Yep. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, that was a decent amount of time. We didn't get to 4 hours, but we got to hour and a half-ish, a little over that. So, not too bad.
Bye.
See you next week.